We're here with Florence Haridan.
Hello.
And you run Conscious House.
I run Conscious House, yeah. It's a drop-in house on the east side. And it's we do food giveaways. We're doing our 50th week this week. And it all started from just wanting to help the community. And
years ago when we first met, you had started something before the Conscious Market, working with people, counseling people.
Yeah, so I'm the executive director of Character Counts in Jacksonville. It's a global character and ethics organization. And at that stage of the game, we were doing work with JSO in their reentry program. And as we were doing life skills and stuff, I just kept hearing, but I need a job. I don't need life skills. I need a job.
I can't go to the therapist 3 times a week.
So we started Conscious Eats, and we had a shop at the farmer's market for a couple of years. And then I kept learning about how much I didn't know about the population that I was working with. So I went back to school, pulled back a little bit, and then we moved into a house on the east side and turned it into a sort of a market and a house and just helping people. And we intentionally moved there because it's a big transition area for people coming out of the big house. And so slowly but surely it's evolved into the sort of miraculous place of community, and it's really pretty crazy.
You got the place cleaned up this past year.
It's looking gorgeous.
Got you a mural
and Kate from Ruarks did this gigantic 6-foot by 9-foot butterfly that wraps around the house. It is fabulous. It's oh my God, I'm like so blessed. And so people drive by, oh, you're the butterfly house. So.
But it's a welcoming place too, you know. You have the gardens around there, you know, growing a lot of edible plants. I got some cuttings from you that one time.
And actually we're just in the process so the next thing that's sort of going on is we're working on a farm, the first of our urban farms that will be in the community. So that is, all the designs are just about finished. Val Herman is designing it. She's a permaculture and agriculture designer. She's amazing. So that we're in that process of fundraising to make that happen. And really the goal is to have, 5 or 6 different urban farms that can employ and feed the neighborhood.
And a lot of areas on the east side of town still have contaminated soil that had to be remediated over the years. So you would need to look into if you're in a brownfield zone. You know,
all the properties that we're working on and looking at were all residential. So they're clean. They're clean but dead. So there's not a lot of life in it.
So we'll have to bring in some soil.
And we're hoping that Kelco Recycling is our neighbor across the street. They're right in the process of starting a new dirt company. So they'll be on the grand scale taking in food waste from restaurants and then turning it into soil. And that property is just slightly north of us. So we're working on getting them to, well, actually they've already agreed. They're just trying to figure out how to get that property going because the stupid city is...
Well, there's a small village, and I can't think of the name right off the top of my head, in Europe that requires that their restaurants donate all their leftover food. That it has to be. They can't just throw it in the dumpster.
Very cool. I'm going to have to... Okay.
They keep the leftover food and stuff that might be, reached its expiration date, which in some countries doesn't matter. When I lived in Costa Rica, the eggs were not even in a cooler. They just had egg crates stacked up in the market.
But once you put them in the cooler, they need to be in the cooler. Versus, I just
had them out in the open.
And they last actually longer because of that, apparently. Someone was teaching me about that a couple of weeks ago.
I lived in a little barrio. We could walk to all the little shops, the little meat markets, carne asada.
Oh, how great.
How
great. Like real food.
Oh, it was all made by mom and pop. All these little places.
How long ago was that?
I've been back, let's see, maybe 5 years. Lived down there for 2 years.
Okay, amen.
Yeah.
I did not know. How did I miss that? Okay.
Lived in Atenas for a year, and then I lived in La Rora for a
Nice.
year, which is right outside of Heredia.
Okay.
And we could just take a day trip. Either way, go to either the East Coast or the West Coast. We were kind of like in the middle.
Like right there, yeah.
Real close. Mm-hmm. And plus we could go just a little north of us and see the Arenal volcano and that whole area around there.
Yeah, beautiful part of the world.
It's a semi-active volcano. There's a lot of shakers down there. You get a lot of earthquakes. Small ones. You get tremors all the time. Uh-huh. And the volcano there is always smoking.
Huh.
Always. And there's like little Airbnbs and hotels and restaurants.
Is there like ash in the air, or is there like, is it
I've never seen them
sooty
have a
or anything?
No,
Huh. Interesting.
No.
Interesting.
Little small cantinas all around the base of the damn volcano. Hotels, Airbnbs, RV parks.
Very cool.
They don't care
who
if
doesn't want to go see a volcano?
They don't care if it erupts or not. You know, we're here to have a good time. You know.
What a way to die.
That's right. That's right. Well, talking about the areas you serve,
yes, sir,
around Conscious House and the demographic that you serve, and most recently, our Vice President Kamala Harris came to town,
yes,
and met with a couple of important people in our area.
Yes.
Agricultural Commissioner Nikki Freed,
yes,
and our local city councilman Garrett Dennis. Mm-hmm. And they talked about one of the areas in Duval County in particular, because Councilman Dennis was here, you know, and he was invited to that. Talking about the areas of town that are food deserts, the food disparities, the logistics of supplying needs, you know, supplying,
right,
whether it be products or services or, you know, that kind of thing for people in need. And working on the food banks and trying to get more sponsors for that.
She actually also went to Feeding Northeast Florida,
yes,
too.
Exactly.
Very cool.
Exactly. That's why they did the round table.
Yep.
They did the round table there.
Yep. So working through what we've learned over the past couple of years. So we've been in Conscious House for 5 years now, and we pretty much started the knock-knock, answering the knock-knock. You never know what the knock-knock is going to be. It could be anything from, oh, I heard there's free food here, to I need some undies, I need who knows what is needed. So, but what we've continued to learn is, so even when there's bigger food giveaways where the boxes are given out, the pre-made boxes.
Which a lot
my
of them
peeps got no car. They can't go get that big box, and so they have no capacity to get to a place that has those big boxes. So our ability to serve on a regular basis, and it's been really interesting to. So I would say it's a neighborhood. Everyone is there. There's old people, there's single people, there's families. I mean, there's really no. It's a neighborhood,
and so many were affected by the pandemic.
Yep.
They already had a rough way, you know, to get the services that they needed and the food that they needed in many cases. Then the pandemic hit, and some of those people that were already struggling lost their jobs. So we serve the other population that we serve. A great deal is men and women coming out of prison. So we're a re-entry zone, so there's a ton of re-entry houses, and what's so great is they'll come up and and I'll introduce myself, and you can always sort of tell when someone just got out. I don't know, I have a sixth sense about it too, because I've been doing this for 8 or 9 years now, and the gratitude, like there was a young fella yesterday, he just got out, I think, on Friday. And so, he's walking by, I'm like, oh, we got this all free food. He's like, oh. So he was coming down the line, and there was bags of grapes. And so I said, grapes? He's like, yes. I'm like, yeah, it's been a while. He's like,
I love grapes.
Yeah, he might have been getting 3 hots and a cot in the big house, but he didn't never see a grape.
It's always like the appreciation of like real and actual food versus the garbage that is inside.
Right.
So how we got to talking, and I said, "Oh, so you're recently home?" And he's like, "Yeah." I said, "Oh, well, I got other stuff too." And he's like, "Well, what do you mean?" I said, "Well, I got clothes, I got undies, I got personal items and everything." And there was a handful of people still online. I said, "So I'll pull together a bag for you tonight, and I'll leave it on the rack, like, on the driveway." And he's looking. He's like, "You just gonna give me all that?" I'm like, yeah, I got it. This is what it's here for.
Yeah.
And I got the most delightful message from him this morning, just to say thank you, and because I'm sort of a little badass, because I said, "Well, how many times you've been in and out?" And this was his 3rd time. I said, "Say it. I'm never going back."
Yeah.
Say it.
You got to commit to it.
Say it.
Right.
So you go back in, because he's just around like 35 or 40. I said, "You go back in again, forget about it. Yeah." I said, "No going back."
Yeah. Might be doing some
So
harder time. So one of the other things along with the food that works hand in hand with you is that fresh farm food that you're getting.
Yes.
The fresh fruits and vegetables.
So how I make money is I work for Front Porch Pickings, which is a farm-to-table delivery company.
Right.
And so I do that 2 days a week. And so you go online and you order this, wonderful box of all kind of coolness, and I deliver it to your front door. So at the end of the week, I get all of her leftovers. So, and
it could be a lot sometimes.
Oh, it's huge. It's huge. And it's very rare that it's not enough to serve my crew. And then so today, then Mondays, I'm busy dropping off 1 or 2 other things and making that happen. So, and then I have a meat mover and I have a canned good mover. So we do fruits and vegetables, canned goods and pasta and all that kind of stuff every week. And then every 3rd week or so, when I have enough, that we've gathered enough meat, then we had a meat day yesterday. So that's a really great thing. So
in which case that's another expense you had to get freezers.
Yeah.
I remember
freezers. Me and the freezers. Oh my God. So Monday, what ends up happening? So you're keeping the food, and then I can't let anything waste, because you just can't. So then you might have broccoli madness, or cauliflower. We call it cauliflower chaos. We had 15 cases of cauliflower, and it was crazy. So you chop it, you get it bagged into the freezer, and then there's all kind of stuff. So it's
right.
managing the freezers and the comings and goings, and then I have a handful of people who do things like I have a hummus lady. There's 12 million cans of chickpeas in the city that are sitting on shelves because people don't really know what to do with them, or who knows what. But
Make that hummus.
But everyone wants dip. Everyone loves dip.
Pick up some love
at Mackey's Munchies. Don't forget, you can order online at www.mackeysmunchies.com, and we are located at 868 Landing Boulevard. Remember, all signs lead to Mackey's Munchies.
So Florence, the Conscious House, it predominantly serves, not necessarily 100%, but it predominantly serves the transitional community, demographic coming out of the jail system, the prisons.
Yes. So what the neighborhood that I live in is an even worse is the SO, the sex offender. So my neighborhood is one of those neighborhoods. because it's far enough away from a school and all that kind of stuff. And that population, it could be anything from having sex in a car to the whole range of it.
Oh, yeah,
Once it's a sexual offense, it's forever.
You're registered.
Forever.
Right,
Forever.
Right.
So being able to find housing, and that's been really sort of crazy.
I mean, coming out of jail all on its own, even if you
To begin with, it's hard.
The hurdles.
Right.
And, you know, in all honesty, even someone that has spent time in jail as a sexual offender, still, even though they may be stigmatized within their neighborhood because they are registered, they still, as human beings, need to eat.
And earn a living.
It was deemed by the court systems
Yep.
that they spent their time, and they did. And as long as they don't offend again, even though they're still registered, as long as they don't offend again, and they've made their restitution, paid their dues, you know, within the legal system, you know, they still have to have a roof over their head, whether it may be in a group home too. Some of them have to go to group homes.
Yeah,
But they still got to eat.
And
they
trying
still gotta
to
work.
pay the rent.
Exactly.
Like
exactly.
there's a couple of houses that people are highway robbery. So you know, $450 a month to share a bedroom. To freaking share a bedroom. Okay. So
like living in the barracks when I was in the Army.
Right, it's sort of crazy. So, you know, working through what's it really take for someone to rebuild a life, and all the costs of it, and all of the challenges. It's.
But they also too. There's a amount of counseling that often does not occur, that should go along with offenders coming out, whether they be, you know, had been sexual predators or otherwise.
Right.
You know, it's therapeutic for them to be able to talk about, you know, whether they did hard time. You know, some of them were, you know, had a really rough time in jail. You know, physical attacks and that kind of thing. Whereas others did not, but they still need, you know, some kind of, you know, leg up, a push, you know, to help them reintegrate into society.
Lots of the resources are stretched to the max.
Sure.
And right now, even lots of like JREC, the reentry center, that's practically shut down. The only thing that it's there for is to do your like probation registration and your check-ins.
Correct.
So all of the programs there are pretty much done.
And I think most of those probation places, I think a minimum once a month, it's like $75 just to walk in the door. A lot of them.
Yep.
At a minimum.
Yep. So, you know, the costs to getting back to a life after you've served your time, and helping people refine their dignity is a huge amount of, and helping them really remember that they're smart and that they're capable.
Yeah.
And I often tell the story. There was a couple of years ago, I was going through some gigantic Department of Justice, Federal Department of Justice training. And we were working, and there was a fella who actually was one of my people at a JREC, and they just happened to randomly pull it. And he had just gotten out of prison for like 23 years, okay? And like the people are looking at it, and they're like, well, he doesn't have he needs to get a GED. I'm like, well, what was he in for, right? He ran like this huge ring, right? Like he was like this major business person, right? And I remember the first time I met him, I'm like, so what made you a good businessman? I mean, he like ran hose and he did it was crazy. And he said, well, quality of product. Like, simple as that. And I was like, well, what could you sell now? Now he owns 3 U-Haul franchises and employs 3/4 of his employees are ex-felons. Guy's killing it.
Yeah,
he's killing it. But these crazy people wanted to get him to get a GED.
There's so many people. There should be more, but there are a lot of businesses that are following that model.
Yep.
You know, hiring ex-felons.
Yep.
Restaurants, delivery services. They're finding that it's good.
Yep.
It's good for them to help them reintegrate back into society.
And they're hungry employees.
Yeah, sure.
So there's not that we're not all good employees when we're hungry, but there's a lot more at stake for them to be successful. So if you get the right groove going, man, they're like rocking employees. Plus, they're freaking resourceful. They've been in prison. They've been making. I mean, they don't waste a paperclip. I mean, I remember my first couple of employees. I would getting ready to throw something out, like, Miss Florence, you should not be wasting that. And it really got my game up. I mean, I'm not a waster kind of person anyway, but the gifts and skills that they actually receive of the way they look at the world in prison, we all have a lot to learn from them.
Oh yeah.
I mean, incredibly.
Yeah. And Conscious House, helps them in many ways to rebuild their sense of community when they're gathering back their dignity.
And just being a part of it. So and there's every size and shape and color of individual in the neighborhood. And so I get to learn about people from like all over the country and everything. There's a fella who is wheelchair bound, had a stroke right before his trial. And anyway, he is one of the most resourceful people I've ever, and he'll just be at the house and it's like, oh, that needs fixing. 2 or 3 days later, he's got some hack to fix it. It's crazy. Just coming together to create a community, and that we're doing it together. I talked about that earlier.
And not only the food boxes and fresh food that is you give out generously. So what was it you said? 50 families a week.
45 to 50 families a week.
That's amazing. And on top of that, that's a lot of work.
And every other week we do a community meal.
You
sort of like the
feed
stone soup thing.
Yeah.
And so that's been really great. And being able to come together as a community, shoulder to shoulder, that we all have something to learn from each other.
Right.
And
we did it when I was growing up. Had block parties. A couple times a year. We'd do block parties. All the men on the street would take the seine net out to the North Jetties. We'd go out there with the dune buggies, stay the night, and then have a big fish fry and a block party live band. I was in the band, and we'd have to get a permit and put the blockades at each end of the street. It was just a little 1-block street in San Mateo, and we did it a couple times every year. Every year for we probably did it for about 10 years.
Yeah. We've become so isolated, and we always did block parties when I was a kid too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So speaking of block parties, thank you for the segue. So we're having a block party, and we're just finalizing the date. About 3 weeks. We have a new partnership with a Harley-Davidson motorcycle group called the One Bloods. They're in the neighborhood, and they want to make a long-lasting impact on the community, like I'm working on. So we're coming together, and we're having a like a swap meet kind of thing. Right. So just like a free garage sale, just piles of stuff, and everyone will get a box that they can just fill. And then we're also providing lunch. And then to raise money, all of the rich biker boys will be bidding and
Rolex riders.
Right. Oh my God! Some of these bikes.
Some of them are.
So we'll be raising money to help with the community farm, the urban farm that we're working on.
Well, all the bike clubs that I have been in touch with over the last few years and involved with, they've all had a lot more community involvement than some people would realize.
Way more.
A lot more. And they raise a lot of money for sick children or a family that's lost a loved one or, the local food bank. They do a lot of volunteering.
Well, it was sort of fun.
They did these long rides. I used to ride with them sometimes.
The fellow in the wheelchair that I was talking about, he's right by their clubhouse. And he rolled up there, and he, mentioned me. And then the next thing you know, there's all these bikes showing up at the house. And we did our first project together during the Thanksgiving. And so that was really fun. And watching them do their thing thing, it was really powerful. So they had we partnered to do, they got the turkeys, and then I did all the veg for the boxes and everything. But to watch a van with like 30 bikes coming to a house to deliver a Christmas box, it was great.
Well, there's a lot of those bikers that can cook two of the best things that I like: chili, and some of them are grill masters.
Oh, major, yeah.
A lot of these guys are good old boys that spent time.
Right, so the grills
South.
will be going at the block party
they
for
got
sure.
the grills, and the fried turkeys. I got a cousin that was in the fire department, and they rode bikes, and they were big on the fried turkey things, and they do it
They're
every
capable.
Thanksgiving.
They're very capable people.
Well, I grew up in the woods, and I live in the woods now, and grew up hunting and all that, and a lot of bikers in and out of my family and close friends, and we spent a lot of time on the road, spent a lot of time out in the woods. We'd go hunting and fishing and everything, and we always gave back because we always had plenty.
Yep, always had plenty.
So we always, I didn't grow up with a lot of money, trust me, but we made do with a lot of things. When I was growing up, we climbed trees for fun. We didn't have computers. I didn't see a computer until, I was 20 years old.
Yeah,
I'd see them on TV, in black and white. And they were huge, and the VCR players is crazy. But you're doing such a wonderful thing over there. That we need more people like you in the community doing things like this. Bringing a sense of community right there in their own neighborhood, with community gardens and food giveaways.
Not gardens, revenue generating, employing people.
That's right, urban farms. That's
revenue
right.
generating, employing.
Yeah, and they don't have to be big. You can have several small ones in different locations. You don't need much land to plant a lot of food.
Yeah,
you really don't.
Yeah, and especially when you have the right designer. Val, I mentioned earlier, Val Herman is working on the plans for it, and so it's one plot, and then slowly but surely we'll rotate between the 3 or 4 plots that we have, and so I'm really excited about it. Lots of getting dirty again.
Well, keep up the good work, Florence.
Thank you. I need volunteers. My one last thing. I need volunteers. If you want to chip in, I could totally use volunteers.
Oh, well, they know how to find you.
Yes, please.
Find her on Facebook, and we'll have the links in the description.
Coolio.
We'll have all your links and post all your events if you like. Just let us know.
And my volunteers are the best fed volunteers in town.
There you go. There you go. Big portions. That's right. Well, thank you for coming in again.
My pleasure.